more you can do. You know, if I played even better, then we wouldn't have been in that spot that we were in. So I'm just focused on trying to get better myself. And, you know, I know everybody in the locker room feels the same way. If I go out there and play better than I did last year, then it doesn't matter what goes on everywhere else.
So what you've been saying, Brew?
I've been saying that.
Brew, you have been saying
I've
he was
said
better
that.
against the Patriots. They'd have made the playoffs.
I said it about the Ravens game.
Classic one by you, Brew.
Passing yards, he was first. Passing touchdown, he had 43. He was first. Completion percentage, fourth. Passer rating, third. Did you like this leadership from Joe?
I loved it. I love this leadership. He's absolutely right. I don't care how great he was the rest of the season. Wilds, if he is good, he threw 0 touchdowns, like 165 yards against the Patriots.
I know this. This was my
That is the one thing. If he's better in that game, presumably they make the playoffs. I can't blame him in the other L's.
Your take was the game where they scored 40 and lost to the Ravens. He should have run in the
41-38
2-point
over. Yeah.
He had in the other 7 losses for the Bengals, 21 touchdowns, 3 interceptions.
Well,
I can't blame him for any of those losses. Twice to Baltimore, the chart, lost to some really good teams, the Chiefs, except you guys. He should have been better. They would have been in the playoffs. And I like the leadership because he's pointing thumbs, not fingers.
Okay. You want to go, KW?
no, I agree with it. I like it. Do I think that he believes it 100%?
Doesn't matter.
You don't think so?
I think he's a hard worker. He's going to work hard no matter what. It was the right thing to say for your teammates.
Here's the other thing. When we went through, this is why I think I'm going to become the Bengals guy.
You can have him.
Really? Are you okay with that?
How you going to be the Bengals? You're the Patriots guy.
Because you're the Ravens guy and the Steelers guy and the Browns guy.
I'm from Cincinnati. They're one of my default teams.
Yeah.
This is why I think if he's the same or a little bit better, and the defense that we're trying to tear down the defense, it's terrible. The defense got better in the last half. They just need to be a little bit good. Lose to the Ravens 35-34. Lose to the Chargers 34-27. Another game to Baltimore 41-38. Lose to the Commanders 38-33.
How's that good?
No, he's saying
just get a little better. We're the defense needs to get better. The defense just needs to get a little better.
But their goal is Super Bowl.
No,
it's not
but I'm saying
it can't be win games 36-33 every weekend.
I would take it, though, better than losing 36-33.
I would take it, but that's not the formula.
Can I jump in for a second real quick?
Talk about my team.
He's right in this regard. If they miss the playoffs again, shows like this will come for him first. 3 straight years out of the playoffs. And there won't be this year any of that kind of, sympathy MVP narrative, which is what he got last year. What he got last year was an MVP push unlike any I'd ever seen, which was the team's probably not even going to make the playoffs and the team's not that good, but damn it, we feel like Joe Burrow deserves better. I can't remember that happening in the NFL like that. Here's the problem. I have no idea why anyone thinks they're going to be better than they were last year. They did nothing in free agency. Their first-round pick is the only first-round pick involved in a contract dispute.
But that's not going to be anything.
No. It's not. I don't know. He's getting less practice. It's not nothing.
He may not be ready.
It's not nothing.
They're just running around playing flag football.
Okay, then we should cancel all of it.
I know, but it's not, I don't think it's
wow. No, I don't want to make it like this guy's going to be, Buddy Ryan. They knew have a new defensive
I understand, but
and look at what that did for
the
Eagles. Fangio,
I guess. Listen, I think if you look at it, they lost one of their best offensive linemen. They lost their other defensive end. Their great defensive end has not shown up and is saying he won't play this year. They didn't add anyone in the offseason. All they did was pay more to the guys they already had. I don't know why people think all of a sudden they're going to take a big step forward, especially because those numbers to me indicate if anything is going to regress a bit, maybe the defense gets a touch better. I don't think Burrow's going to have consecutive, A triple plus stat seasons.
Yeah. This is the end of the segment. I'm so happy that he just said at the very end, because he just had a triple plus stat season. I mean, Joe Burrow played out of his mind, but in the same segment, we want to act like he's even remotely responsible for them not making the playoffs. And then Nick said, if they don't make the playoffs again, shows like this one are going to be, go after Joe Burrow. And those shows would be wrong. They would be 100,000 billion trillion gazillion % wrong. We have lost our minds at this point that Joe Burrow could be playing out of his mind, playing unbelievable, has a bad O-line, an awful defense, and is putting up amazing numbers, but then they want to say, well, he had Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, because I guess he's supposed to just have nothing. He has a pretty good coach. He doesn't have a trash coach, right? He doesn't have a coach where you're just like, we got to get this guy out of the building. But let's not pretend like it's Sean McVay out there, Andy Reid out there. And they gave the stats, 20-some touchdowns, 3 interceptions in all of their losses. But, whatever the exact stats are. And we want to point out a game like, right, against the Ravens, which is insane. I watched both those games very, very in-depth, and it was like, he did nothing wrong. Are you going to have some turnovers? Are you going to have some interceptions? Of course you are. Just like Patrick Mahomes, just like Lamar Jackson, just like Josh Allen, just like Jalen Hurts. Like, we've lost our minds. We really have with some of these takes. It's insanity. It really is. You want to point out like a Patriots game or something. And like, guys, I mean, and don't worry, I'm not going to just go through Mahomes stats. I'm going to do other quarterbacks as well. But I mean, Patrick Mahomes, we all know, kept winning and the Chiefs until the Buffalo Bills game. So they ripped off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It was 9 wins. 1 touchdown, 1 interception. 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. 1 touchdown, 1 interception. 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. When he beat the New Orleans Saints and the 49ers in back-to-back weeks, he had 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Had a passer rating of 86.6 and then 44.4. He won a game where he threw for 154 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and had a passer rating of 44.4. Coming off a game where he had 0 touchdowns and 1 interception and an 86.6 rating. I mean, in his first 9 games that he won, he had a passer rating of 101.9, pretty good, 80.6, 87.2, 89, 86.6, 44. I mean, it's absurd. He had an interception. He had 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 interceptions in his first 8 games. And yet they were still able to win. And yet you want to blame Joe Burrow. I mean, Jalen Hurts, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 80.3 passer rating in the first game against the Packers, 1. Now, it's a little harder because in Atlanta they lost, but he had 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 88.6 passer rating. And then against New Orleans Saints, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, 88. Like, Jalen Hurts' stats are a little bit also harder to look at because so much of his game is also with his legs. He's like a true dual threat. Against the Bucks, 158 yards. Again, another game they lost. 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. But I mean, there's definitely some games that he was far from perfect, and that they lost or they were able to pull off the win. I mean, Josh Allen. This was a weirder game because it was 31-10, and they really kind of rolled. And I think that was the game when Tua got knocked out, unfortunately. But he threw for 139 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interception. They were able to win. He had his famous game against the Texans, 131 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions, and a 56.4 rating. The 49ers, that was a snow game, so that makes sense why some of those numbers are a little skewed. I remember this game against the New England Patriots. Wasn't one of the best games. It was kind of a game that they needed to take care of business too, because I think they were still fighting for the 1 seed, so potentially the bye, as well as they wanted to make sure that they could lock up those next games because they wanted to make sure that they could rest their starters in the final week. So that game, that week 16 game, did matter for them, if memory serves me correctly. He had a 55.2 completion percentage, 154 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception, and a rating of 67.3. You know? I remember that was a weird game. Because it was a game that they definitely did need to take care of business, and I'm almost positive they were still in the race for a bye. So they obviously still wanted to win. So it's just absurd. Like, Joe Burrow is the only quarterback that has to play like absolutely flawless in every single game. Like, what? That's just, and when people say like, oh, well, the Patriots, if he played better against the Patriots, if he played better against this team, blah, blah, it's just like, it's actually just stupid. I'm all for zooming in and zooming out. You know, the heart of this channel is constantly trying to figure out when we zoom in, when we zoom out, when we zoom in, when we zoom out. And it's just like, this is a perfect example of when zooming in goes wrong. And in fact, when Nick Wright was just kind of like, you know, I've never seen a push for an MVP like this, like a pity MVP. No, if anything, it actually highlights just how crazy and twisted an MVP award, like why those awards increasingly become less and less meaningful to me. Because when you can see someone who's clearly absolutely balling out, was clearly an elite and special quarterback, and yet it's not enough. And then yet someone else who has more support, better defense, you know, whatever it may be. Just, it doesn't even have to even be better defense in the traditional sense. It could just be like, well, we just didn't blow the game, or we just didn't just, you know, we didn't have a kicker that just forgot how to kick in a bad moment in the game, in an important moment of the game. Like, it's just kind of crazy. And then also this cutoff of, well, they didn't make the playoffs. But again, there was like a couple moments where if the field goal kicker just makes the kick, then they were in the playoffs. Then they would have won enough games. Heck, against the Broncos game, I mean, it's like that defense was trying their best. And I think they also missed a field goal in that game as well. I think. It's so hard to keep up because it was such a mess. I mean, go watch the Ravens versus the Bengals games, and you're not like, oh, if Joe Burrow was better. It's like, that's absurd. Will there be some turnovers? For sure. But that's why I always highlight Patrick Mahomes has, I mean, gosh, how many interceptions does he have in Super Bowl history now for his career? I mean, like, it's a ton. And like I said, I just showed you in the beginning of the season, his first like 7-8 games or whatever. And I'm sure I missed some fumbles there as well. But it was interception. I mean, he was averaging an interception a game, technically slightly over an interception a game. And yet people thought that they were going to go undefeated. And you could say, well, he didn't have a lot of help. Okay, yes, Joe Burrow's wide receivers were better. But yet everything else was inferior. Everything else. From coaching, defense, O-line, run game, like however we want to define it. So I don't get it. I mean, it's funny because someone like Nick Wright also wants to give Caleb Williams the benefit of the doubt, and I give him the benefit of the doubt, to be very clear as well. But he's like, oh, his O-line was bad. He was pressured 241 times. Joe Burrow was pressured 248. I mean, everyone wanted to cry about Patrick Mahomes. He was pressured 212, but his O-line was so bad. I mean, Joe Burrow was significantly pressured more. Significantly. And it's so interesting because then we talk about, well, what do these quarterbacks do when they're dealing with the pressure? That's like a whole big thing. It's like, well, you can't expect to have everything perfect. Joe Burrow led the NFL in 1,400 yards under pressure. 1,400 yards. 7.9 yards per attempt. 15 touchdowns. The most touchdowns out of any other quarterback. And only 3 interceptions. All while dealing with pressure. So the same type of pressure that we saw Patrick Mahomes completely implode under, we see Joe Burrow actually be great. And I'm sorry, the answer is not just all because of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Okay, you're not gonna just constantly explain away someone's talents just because he has something to work with. Because I don't recall anyone doing that with Travis Kelce and Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. And quite frankly, the only quarterbacks that they really want to do it for is pretty much anyone but him. It's weird. It's weird. I mean, I don't understand. I mean, Jared Goff is pretty good under pressure, relatively speaking. Levels below someone like a Joe Burrow, 15 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 7 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 1,000 yards, 1,400 yards. Are people saying, well, it's all because of Ben Johnson? Well, it's all because of Amon-Ra St. Brown? Like, of course you're going to benefit from those situations. Of course. You're allowed as a quarterback to benefit from some of the gifts you get. Okay? And I think when you have those gifts, and if you're still at the bottom, well, yeah, then we got some problems. For sure. Then it's like, what's going on here? And I totally get it. And that's why it was understandable that Jalen Hurts wasn't great under pressure in 2023. And it was like, well, you got AJ, you got Devontae, you got your legs. Why are you being so bad under pressure? And it was like, well, and I pointed out, I was like, I think it's coaching. I think when you're initially not good under pressure, I look to coaching first. It's up to the coach, specifically like the offensive coach or offensive coordinator, to give you solutions. They're the ones that got to give you the answers to say, listen, when this is happening, I'm going to set you up. You're going to be able to spit the ball out here, here, here. First look over there. Like it's the fingerprints are all over it. And that's why you often see, especially when it's a little bit easier when you look at coordinators, when they leave and come and go, you can specifically see quarterbacks kind of rise and fall. And it's no mistake that when they have a better coordinator, a better coaching mind, something like when they're under pressure, I mean, it spikes. It's significantly better. Significantly better. Again, Jalen Hurts is the great example of that. Shane Steichen, awesome. Without Shane Steichen, not so awesome. With Kellen Moore, back to being really great. Now, Joe Burrow, obviously having an offensive head coach, is not going to be as up and down with the defensive coordinator, with a defensive head coach and having the coordinators to kind of come and go. But we saw it with Tua, saw it a little bit with Josh Allen. And again, some of the really mobile quarterbacks, it's going to change a little bit because especially when you're under pressure, a lot of these guys are going to, they're going to rely on their legs a little bit more and be able to extend plays a little bit more skillfully. So that's why I also brought up Jared Goff, because Jared Goff, Joe Burrow, they're going to be of the kind of a similar category in types of style of quarterback. But I just don't understand what else you can ask this man to do. I mean, when he doesn't have a clean pocket, he's delivering 15 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, 1,400 yards, balling, top quarterback. When you deliver him, when you actually protect him, we already know, and obviously both of these are all included, but he was pressured the most out of any other quarterback, and yet was still able to put up all these numbers. Do you know how insane that is? And yet the same people who want to downplay this are the people who then want to say, but Patrick Mahomes' O-line. But Caleb Williams' O-line. But on the flip side, Jalen Hurts' O-line. Well, of course Jalen Hurts was able to win. He's got the best O-line. It's like, I can't decide when we want to figure out when O-lines matter and when they don't. When pressure matters, when it doesn't. When it's okay to have a weapon, like a Jamar Chase, and when we want to downplay having someone like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Travis Kelce, Derrick Henry. We want to really boost it up when it's Saquon Barkley with Jalen Hurts. It's just kind of crazy. We constantly keep trying to figure out when these things matter, but it's so based off of how much do we want to see, like how do we feel about the individual itself? I mean, it's just, I don't know, kind of crazy to me. There's just no way. And I wanted to say this earlier in the video, but it's just like, I like what Joe Burrow said, and I get what Joe Burrow said. Everyone on the team understands it. All the coaches know it. They all know it's a bunch of nonsense. They all know that this is, because like, what is Joe Burrow going to say? We have to play better. The defense has to play better. You can't say that, and you're not going to say that. And so I respect him for being a good leader in that regard. But it's also like, Joe understands. He's not dumb. He's been there once or twice. So it's like, I can't even say like when Brew was like, I love it. It's like, there's nothing to love, because it's like, it's leadership 101. It's like literally the most entry level basic, like, you shouldn't get really credit for doing this, but you will certainly get blame and ripped for not doing that. It's one of those like asymmetrical things. where it's like, yeah, you would have to be a really bad quarterback to say anything but that. But also, we all know it's a bunch of nonsense. And because then they were saying, I don't know if Joe Burrow believes it. He shouldn't believe it because it's not reality. And in order to maximize your potential, you have to understand what is real and what is not. This was a team failure, not a Joe Burrow failure. Joe Burrow can't play any better. And that's also the other thing that's embedded in Nick Wright's comment there. When he says, I'm expecting, Joe Burrow can't, he didn't say this down outright, but he's like, Joe Burrow, because he said statistically, can't do any more. So he's imagining that this offense can't keep going up. And I get it, because I have similar takes with that. It's like I said that about the Eagles defense. The Eagles defense was so unbelievable. Saquon Barkley was so unbelievable. I can't imagine that they're going to do it again. There's got to be probably a little bit of backslide. Like that's just, you just don't keep going up and up and up. So when you make a statement like that, well, then you're conceding that this guy right here, who we see in front of us, played out of his mind. That he literally, it's like hard to really imagine that you could be any better. And so if you still don't make the playoffs in a moment when in a season when you truly can't be any better, I just don't know what to tell you. It's just crazy to me. It really, really is. I don't even know. I just keep saying it's crazy to me because it is. We are living in a world right now where people don't think that it's like not a universal truth of how great Joe Burrow is. If you want to maybe downplay, if you maybe want to have some question about Joe Burrow stepping up in big games like playoffs or, this or that, like that's fine. That's not the scope of this specific conversation because this is about them missing the playoffs. So by definition, it's regular season. That's why I know some of the people get in debates of like, well, Jalen Hurts won a Super Bowl. He's played better. And that's all fine. And we can have that conversation. It's a completely different conversation, honestly. It really is, because we're not trying to like figure out how great is Joe Burrow in the grand scheme of things. It's just like, is Joe Burrow good enough? Did he play good enough to get his team to the playoffs? And he absolutely, positively, undeniably did. He was easily one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL last year. Easily. I mean, it's just not even, it's not even up for debate with anyone who understands anything about anything. And yet he still didn't make the playoffs. That is a front row seat to the understanding of this is a team sport. And anyone who wants to say, wow, the Patriots. It's actually, from my viewpoint, an indefensible take. It cannot be defended at all. Because if you want to point out some of the small mistakes, some of the small moments that he was not flawless, and use that as a reason why they didn't make the playoffs, then show me the season where Patrick Mahomes was flawless, where Jalen Hurts was flawless, where Josh Allen was flawless, where Lamar Jackson was flawless, where any of these other quarterbacks were flawless. I mean, heck, didn't Jared Goff throw he didn't have like a 5, it was against the Texans, I just don't remember the number, but it was just interception after interception after interception. I mean, it was like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm watching right now. I was like, this is crazy, actually. It was a fascinating watch, honestly. And they still won. I mean, I don't know. Those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Joe Burrow? Do you think he needs to do more? He needs to play better? It's all on his shoulders. Hey, he's the quarterback. That's the way it goes. Shows like us, we're going to rip him. Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.